Welcome back, Guardians. It has been some time since a report has been written. It is this author's honesty that must be included before we begin. We all have our dealings with fate. Some call it a dalliance. Our fate as Guardians has called us towards the glory and the treasure of the arena, its golden tablets, jeweled engravings, and precious stones. Few have seen it in its eternal magnificence, but the promise of everlasting wealth, rewarded through battle, is a strong lure. The arena calls to all of us, its temptation made tangible by the rumor and conjecture provided by fools and vagrants. A great many have named this place. To some, it's a tomb. To others, a strategic military opportunity, a chance to rejuvenate a dying house. And to the time lost, it is a point of prophecy. To Guardians, that is what truly matters. Nothing could be more certain. Destroy the enemies of humanity and its allies whilst receiving grandiose and incomprehensible rewards. It is a base calling. There are no misguided notions of honor or duty when seeking treasure, although some claim that is the reason they are there. They find themselves in airlocks connected by hallways to domains that are both foreign and hostile. Micro-habitats encompassing the reality only aliens would portray. The treasures of the arena, while grand, have pulled even the greatest of us away from our home in the tower. This report is designed to guide you through the alien terrain you will undoubtedly face in the prison of elders. Official Vanguard policy on the prison is often difficult to ascertain. Zavala, Ikora, and Cade have their own opinions regarding the arena of the Reef, but they understand the need Guardians have to better themselves, whether in the Crucible, in the field, or forming strike teams. The politics of the matter are quite simple. We stand to strengthen ties with the sleeping giant, the Awoken of the Reef. Allies are something we have found to be sincerely lacking, and we do owe a debt to these reclusive Awoken. All that is required of us: enter the arena, follow a fallen from the House of Judgment, abide by his commands, and cull the hordes of opponents that lay vastly in front of you. You may ask, what debt do we owe to these Awoken of the Reef? Many of the Awoken in the tower and the city were cast out by the Queen for some unknown act, either of treason or disagreement to her rule. Our Awoken companions are not often telling. But during the Battle of the Gap, not long ago, we faced certain annihilation from the numerous fallen houses, which were unified in their goal to eliminate Guardians protecting a sleeping god. The House of Wolves had not yet entered the inner solar system. They were en route to link up with the offensive that was entering a climax at the outer walls of the city. The Queen, Amar Zav, had a choice: to either let the House of Wolves pass, remaining neutral in our plight, or allow the last city of humanity to join the rest of the Golden Age in death. To our great hope, she chose action. The House of Wolves never saw Earth, and we were able to turn the tide on the Battle of the Walls at the Gap. The rest is transcribed in a series of military documents termed the Marade, which will undoubtedly be a completely separate report. The Reef Wars are incredibly important to understanding the current state of the solar system and our place in it, and its stories and battles should be made known in the future. For now, however, the obstacles in front of you should be prioritized, so you have a more functional understanding of our opponents and their combat prowess. You face a time-lost Vex Legion under a particular Gatelord called Quaidron. Quaidron and those machine zealots that follow him believe in a certain prophecy that the light will shine inside the grand arena, and Quaidron will decimate it, totally without remorse. The Vex, from what we have seen, are nothing short of fanatics. They worshipped a foreign power in the Black Garden, and they perceive themselves as masters of time and space. But if Quaidron, the Axis mind of the Vex in the Prison of Elders, believes in a prophecy of dead light, it is truly nothing more than a foolish machine, blinded by its fanaticism. You must see to it that the most devout among his following are eliminated. These gold creatures will seek out your light, guiding Quaidron's Void Blast to turn your light into a forethought. Eliminate them, and Quaidron will remain blind, unable to bind you inside a cell of a slow, cold death. Reportedly, the same cell has been seen by Guardians who entered combat with the Templar inside the Vault of Glass. Perhaps Quaidron is a disciple of the Templar or an initiate of a religious faction inside the Vex. Either way, you must remain careful. This cell that will be placed upon you will drain your light. Use everything in your power to free yourself from these shackles. It is truly odd. For a race of fluid encased inside machine bodies, you would assume they are beyond such notions of prophecy and pseudoscience. Perhaps they were deeply devout before they were what they are now. Perhaps they used these prophecies to justify their aggressive actions against Guardians. Remember, the Vex came to the prison at their own will. The Queen did not capture them or bind them into your cells. Your light and their prophecy did. Next, you will face a rogue Cabal Legion under the commander named Valis Tarug. With him comes the Broken Legion. They are a rebellious group inside the greater Cabal faction, unified under the determination and leadership of Tarug. Accompanying Tarug on his offensive inside the reef is Val Arun. Not much is known about the Cabal and its commanders, but Arun has the respect of both his subordinates and Varix. You should remain cautious of the Legion if you encounter them. But the question of the Broken Legion's motivations is a key conversation point, and it should be explained further. What we understand now of the Greater Cabal is that they are not an invading force, but a group of warriors retreating from some unknown entity, a force that pushed them into our system. Now, the other legions, loyal to the Cabal High Command, have limited portions of the reef as a non-combat zone, either wishing to conserve their strength or avoid combat with the reef's vast armada. The Broken Legion, under Tarug, has disobeyed direct orders from High Command. It is his belief that the reef is a key strategic point in the system, far more important than Vex sites on Mars or entrenching on Phobos. Whether or not Tarug is correct in his stratagem matters very little. His rebellion serves to weaken the Cabal High Command and allows Guardians to eliminate an entire Cabal Legion, all while building relations with the reef. Fortune has never been so revealing, so it is highly recommended you eliminate the Broken Legion with extreme prejudice. The Hive seem to be everywhere in the system, a tumor on each planet, growing without caution for those afflicted. But much like a finely tuned scalpel, teams of Guardians have the ability to eliminate even the most powerful of the Hive Exalted. Oryx's son, Crota, lay slain in the depths of his fortress on Luna. It was no simple task, as Eris Morn has shown both suffering and sacrifice for the cause. Surely, a few forgotten broods of the Hive are no match for Godslayers. The Worm Keepers inside the Prison of Elders are quite different than any Hive brood Guardians had faced before, as they rely on desperation or insanity to expand their control inside the prison. The Worm Keepers seem to have no single leader. Perhaps they communicate with the specific Hive god, or more likely, with Crota now gone, Oryx has taken command over his son's lieutenants in our system. Hive communications are difficult, if not impossible to decrypt, but many closer to the darkness admit a coming enemy so vast and empty that it could very well be Oryx. Whether or not Oryx can be linked to the Hive brood inside the Prison of Elders is only a theory, questioned and challenged by many Hive experts in the tower. Initial reports indicate that if you encounter the Hive in your expedition, you will face the enforcers of the Worm Keepers, designated Wretched Knights. Arguably, the current Hive brood inside the prison was originally not its only occupant. Internal power struggles inside the Hive is relatively new information, and as it is suggested, Crota's fall may have far more reaching implications across the Hive faction. The Hive disunity inside the Prison of Elders has been completely alleviated by the Worm Keepers, through clever and forceful position of these Wretched Knights. Although they share a similar appearance to standard knights, they are highly aggressive. There are also rumors of a particular Wretched Knight that seeks to feed upon the light of Guardians entering the prison. His name in our tongue is Urox, the Flame Prince. He seeks only one objective, to burn away your light, leave your ghost nothing more than a pile of cindering ashes to be collected and then consumed. There is another, an ogre unlike any we have seen. The Worm Keepers have created this monstrosity, Golrot, the Unclean, without a stable resource platform and outside their summoning pits. It is a festering sickness, an open wound in the fabric of our reality, with the ability to spew sludge designed to eliminate any mobility you may have against this beast. Be most careful when facing the abominations set forth by the Worm Keepers. While their brood may not be a direct threat to the tower, it is a threat to our potential allies in the reef. Finally, you will face the tattered remains of the imprisoned House of Wolves, or at least those recaptured by guardians from the tower and those Armada paladins from the reef. The House of Wolves during the Reef Wars was reportedly beyond 1 million strong, with their armada to challenge the largest of Cabal fleets, and undoubtedly caused great alarm to the people of the Reef. The Reef Wars left the fallen House of Wolves shattered, largely due to internal power struggles and key victories secured by the Paladin commanders. A full synopsis of the Reef Wars and its military documents of the Maraid will be covered in a later report. But the Reef Wars were largely won due to misplaced fallen aggressions, along with an abundance of would-be Kells. All of this misfortune played directly into the hands of Mara Sov, as she expertly used the internal chaos of the House of Wolves to her advantage, ultimately killing the Wolf Kell at the time, Viriax, at the Battle of Ceres, leading to the dismantling of the remaining house into several various factions. Skolas would lead a desperate move on the military fortress of Sibyl, ultimately leading to his capture, along with all those who still stood with him. Inside the fallen territory of the prison, you will find pieces of salvaged hardware from Earth, either used as fortifications or simple trophies. Their use of old Earth technology is an offense to be clearly noted. But these trophies are from an age in the Wolf timeline when their power was to be feared. Now they are forced into a desperate battle of both survival and recovery. The fallen House of Wolves are actively using new tactics in order to resecure key positions inside the prison. Of this, they are using pilot servitors in live combat operations. Generally, pilot servitors have always been reserved to the maintenance and starflight of fallen catches, but the Wolves have been forced so deeply into their corner they are utilizing all in their fight against the coming purge. In the Reef Wars, Skolas forced these servitors into suicide operations, often leading to their elimination, but the tactic is no less effective in the prison. Be wary. These pilot servitors have incredibly dense armor and are surrounded by the most fanatical of the House of Wolves. There are also rumors that the Wolves have rebuilt their prime servitor, Calyx, now Calyx Reborn, fused together from parts of devout servitors in a mission to re-establish the power Calyx Prime once gave his house. It is ultimately a Frankenstein and an interesting power play. The Fallen follow Prime servitors with a religious zeal, and if they unite behind this Calyx Reborn, they could force themselves from the defensive and regain much needed momentum. But this Calyx has a certain weakness. It must feed upon the ether of its subordinates to remain alive, or at least functional. Eliminating the dregs infused with ether and cutting the supply from which Calyx Reborn can feed will surely be your path to victory should you encounter him. One enemy of the Fallen has not been named, mainly because the so-called Kell of Kells deserves his own report. His actions in the Reef Wars, in the Vault of Glass, and ultimately his supposed connection with Oryx is most troubling and should be covered in my next report. If the Reef's grand arena calls to you, your hunger for glory made insatiable by years of victories, see to it you come prepared. As the enemies of the light care not for which titles you hold, they only seek to destroy you. Stay safe, Guardians.